Guys, Five here, back with another video. So today we're going to get into why home theater sucks. Well, more specifically, we're going to get into why your home theater might suck. All right, so I'm not saying that your home theater is trash or maybe even that you have bad equipment, but one of the things you have to understand is the setup, your connections, and sometimes more often than not, your speaker placement is a couple of things that people get wrong. All right, so your home theater setups consist of much more than just cranking up the treble and the bass knobs on a couple different items. Okay, that's something that you just do not want to do. I've seen it before where it's been demoed to me where I'm going to check out some speakers and you know all they have is the treble and the bass turned up and they're like, hey, look how awesome this sounds. And I'm here to tell you that it does not. You're failing yourself, you're failing your system, and your setup does not sound good if those are the only methods you're using to try to tune, set up, or equalize your speaker sounds. Now, as far as improperly positioned speakers, having all the speakers placed in front of the room is not a good idea, guys. So you're not going to have your surround sound if you have five speakers lined up pointing directly in front of you, firing the sound towards you. That's not how it's going to work. You need to have your speakers placed, you know, your one on the left side, you have your center, and then one on the right side, and then you have your left and right surround sounds. So there's going to be more or less behind you, 2 to 3 feet up above your ear level. Okay, so that's how that's going to work out. But do not have them just sitting all on your entertainment stand, all facing forward. Okay, that's not proper speaker placement. All right. So the next thing is not having a subwoofer in your system. Now, sometimes I understand that you might come across a particular system or a special or a deal where it's not going to come with a subwoofer. You know, they're not saying that you don't need a subwoofer. They're trying to say that, you know, you are going to go out and purchase a subwoofer of your own taste by yourself. All right. In no way are you going to have your two channel or your surround sound set up, in a movie environment or a good audio environment without a subwoofer. Okay, you're gonna need that bass to help fill in those mids and highs. If you don't have one right now, you're doing yourself a disservice, and you're gonna love it once you actually get one. So some of the next things is improper connections. Not verifying that all your red and black connections match up. It's a simple thing, but you'd be surprised at how many times you're making banana plugs or twisting the ends of your wires, going to plug them into your speaker. You get 2 or 3 speakers connected, and then one of them just happens to slip through, and you connect the black wire to the red lead. Those are going to result in improper frequencies. It's going to sound weird, and sometimes your AVR can catch that for you during its test. But to be honest, it's just a silly mistake that a lot of us make, easily corrected, but it's something that happens, and you should not overlook that. So make sure that you're double checking your connections once you say everything is hooked up and it's ready to go. So the other thing is not having HDMI cables. So I went over this briefly in another video, but guys, we need to be using the HDMI cable. There's no reason to be using your RCA cables for any sort of connections. There's no reason to really be using your optical cables for any reason these days. I understand that sometimes that's what you have, sometimes that's what you can get away with, and if that's the case, then that's fine, and you can do that for now. But I would try to see if you can make the step to get a HDMI cable, because that's really going to benefit you. It's going to have all your audio and video being transmitted the same way in one cable. Okay, and you're also going to be able to get your Dolby Atmos and your DTSS effects straight out of the one cable. You're not going to be able to get the height channel effects through your optical or through an RCA cable. Okay. The other thing that happens with the RCA or with the HDMI cable is once you get an HDMI cable, you need to make sure that you're plugging it into your audio return channel on your receiver. Okay, it's going to go from your receiver to your TV. That's the only HDMI cable that's going to connect to your TV and to your receiver. Okay, that's the only cable. Everything else is going to plug directly into your receiver. Okay, that's how you're going to get those good audio quality. Everything's going to match up there, and it even turn on and off your AVR and your TV from the one source. Okay, so when you're done playing your Xbox, you hit the power button. You know, the Xbox will turn off, the AVR will turn off, and your TV will turn off. Only a benefit you can have with the HDMI cable, guys. So make sure you're looking into that. Take a second to comment below on what connection mistakes you've made before. If any. I know, nobody's perfect. I made that same mistake with the black and the red cables before. So leave a comment below. Let me know if that's something that you've run into yourself. So another thing is the improper setup of your AVR. Okay, your AVR requires setup to adjust to your room. AVR speaker settings, some of them include your speaker configuration, your speaker distance, your speaker levels. Okay, those are just a few of them, that are important. But there's a lot of stuff in there that their AVR will do for you. But you can go in there manually, and you can always look at these settings to make sure that they match your setup. If you set up a 5.1 surround sound, 5.2 surround sound, you go into your settings and you identify that you only have sound coming out of 2 speakers. Well, that's the improper configuration. You didn't set it up correctly, and or your AVR, when it asked you, you accidentally put in the wrong number of speakers that you're trying to set up. Okay, so make sure you double check that. Take the time to get that taken care of. Another AVR setting that's often overlooked is your speaker crossover. Okay, this is a really important thing that you guys need to understand, and it helps your sound tremendously. Okay, and in short, this setting is responsible for taking some of the bass from your normal speakers, your normal, your bookshelf, or your tower speakers, essentially any speaker that's not a subwoofer. Okay, so it takes some of the bass from those speakers and it sends it to the subwoofer, which is specifically built to handle those low bass notes. All right, so feel free to experiment with the crossovers. Not all speakers are created equal. Not all drivers are created equal. So you might have an ear where you can hear slightly different levels of hertz. So you setting the crossover might sound a little bit better for you at one point than another, but you will also be able to visibly see this happen. So if you have a small bookshelf speaker and you have the crossover set too high, then you're going to be able to see the speakers not really moving per se, but if you set it too low, you're really going to see it fluctuating. Okay, you're going to see it's trying to put out way too many bass notes. So this is something you can actually visibly see and make adjustments to accordingly. All right, so take a look at that. Just for the standards, generally 80 hertz is a standard for your crossover. That's a great starting point. I would recommend you start there, as long with a lot of other people recommend that you start there. And I started there and I made some adjustments, and we can get into my specific adjustments in a later video. So please, take a second to like and subscribe if you like these videos. I'm just trying to get this information out to you guys so you can make step-by-step conclusions on what you can do and how to set up your system so we can get it, up and running and sounding amazing. Okay, that's really all I have for you guys today. This is 5, and I will see you in the next video.